Welcome back. Taylor's here with me, and we're going to read your guys' comments. There was a lot of good comments. A lot of crazy things happened last episode. Spoilers, just in case if you
Episode
haven't
3.
watched. If you haven't watched Succession Season 4, Episode 3, spoilers. There's going to be a lot of spoiler talk, a lot of theories, and just so you guys know, every comment is entered to win a shirt at the end of the month from thebestnerdyshirts.com. So you're entered for a chance to win. We pick one winner throughout the month of all the different comments through all the different videos. And thank you so much for all these comments. We're going to be reading quite a few of them. It's been so much fun this last episode, even this series. So let's just jump right into it.
All right. So I have my first comment. I think probably speaks for a lot of people. Steven says, or maybe Stefan, I'm still crying. I mean, I don't know if I was really sad about, I feel like I'm more sad about losing the actor on the show than I am about Logan, but same. They're the same. All right. And then I see Susan Moss said everything was done for a reason. I think Jerry will win out since he tried to fire her. His last step was to try to help the kids by firing Jerry, going for the Cousin Greg shirt. So Susan is entering in. So we've got that. Okay, good.
But yeah, it's very interesting that Jerry to take it all. Like that's interesting because she can manipulate Roman, and I mean, was his reason for firing Jerry because that would be his strongest opponent? I guess.
I think it could also have been a Roman test, to be honest, and he didn't really care about Jerry, but Jerry does know a lot legally.
And she has the most dirt probably on everyone.
All right. So next up, we have Arnold Oliver, who says, "What is in Logan's will?" We wondering too.
What's in the will? Tell us now. Is there even a will?
Okay. So we have a pretty in-depth theory here. So we're going into conspiracy territory, but it could be true. So Lil She says, Logan is not dead. He would never let his kids win. If he could control that, then
that's amazing.
Hats off to him.
He's the devil himself.
The firing of Jerry was official, but her assuming her role will resurface and get her into more trouble. The kid speaking to Logan was probably recorded.
I can see that. And
will be used against them if they revealed anything incriminating. It seems like the only one who knows about this plan is his assistant, driver, and the flight crew. There's also that friend of his that he said was his best friend in the last episode. That's someone I'm thinking about. A near perfect dummy could have been used for the chest compressions. A thought, all seemed very convenient and planned.
Man, if they do that, that's one of those, do they just do that for the clicks and the views, for people like, Logan's dead. He's not. He's back. He came back to life in the hospital.
Well, so if you watch the after episode, I don't know what it's called. Not the preview, but the behind the scenes, I think. There's a whole segment dedicated to Jesse Armstrong, breaking the news to the guy, what's his name? Logan's in real life, Brian Cox.
Oh yeah.
Kind of bringing him into a room and saying that they're killing off Logan in the third episode. So makes me feel like it's fine, but
you never know. Nowadays with trailers, they'll have the Hulk in there or whatever, and then in the movie in that same scene, the Hulk isn't in it, just to mess with people to keep their secrets secret.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kid Halloween 85 says, "LOL. Did anyone even call Marsha?" I mean, honestly, I thought the same thing with the mom. I was like, when are they gonna call their mom? But obviously, not the first thought. But
and it took forever to get Connor on the phone.
Yeah, that was a big thing I saw on Twitter, where people were very sad that they didn't get Connor. But I mean, at the same time, you're not really in your right mind. I don't know.
No, yeah,
I wouldn't think too far into that.
Even though he's the one that probably loves everyone the most and cares about everyone the most.
Yeah, there's a whole segment of con heads on the Succession Reddit, and they feel very vindicated. They feel like they've won, but we'll see what happens with his
Makes sense. I can see
candidacy.
that. He's happy. I mean, if the goal's to just be happy, then he's definitely
Is
leading
it? I don't know.
the whole charge. Because it was funny because like in the last episode in our review, you were talking about how no one has someone to like be,
To
to
go home to.
except for Connor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so Big Kitten 226 says, I couldn't believe it. I thought Tom was lying for at least 5 minutes. I don't know. The chest compressions are pretty graphic. Like,
Yeah.
I
Well, at first though, we didn't see that. It was just Tom.
yeah, you're
And
right.
he was like on the other side of the plane. And I honestly thought that too, because it was very awkward that Tom's the one to call.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it at first I was like, what's at play here? And then when you realize it's real, and I think it's the same thing with them too. They're like, okay, Tom, what's going on? Like it's like this false reality that you don't want to believe it. And then even us, like in denial, we're like, ha, the monster Logan dying. And it's
Mhm.
like we can't believe it, but
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough to accept.
So then Anne Tasari brings up the hashtag baby theory that we still believe. And the chat is that Carrie is pregnant, question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah. I feel like, okay, they weren't like a public relationship thing. She is clearly having like a out of body experience moment when she walks out of, them trying to revive Logan.
Yeah.
And it makes me think she's like she's trying to comprehend like, what am I going to do with
the baby,
this?
my life? How am I going to pay for everything? Am I
Right.
even in the will?
Yeah.
Is there a will?
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens with her character, because I think you asked this before. Like, does she even really want it? Did she even want to be like a correspondent or whatever when she did? It's like, what? I'm kind of confused about her.
It kind of almost felt like a test, right? Like he was trying to test if Tom would stand up and tell him the truth about her being like he was like floating stuff down the river to see who he can catch in a lie, or maybe he's just looking for someone to replace his kids and just be honest with him, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So Irene says, I really like this comment. This show is crazy, yet has a sort of naturalism. Death happens suddenly and chaotically. It doesn't always follow a plan. And that's a lot of like what the writers were saying, or the showrunners were saying on that behind the scenes, is like it. And you mentioned too, like it kind of it's like what a modern death is. It's very and like it had like a 24-hour news cycle vibe of like, we can't internalize this or even react to it without there being like repercussions with the media and stuff.
Yeah,
they had to like know right away.
Yeah, and then everything was done over a phone. They weren't physically there with their dad. So they obviously everyone wants to be around their loved ones when stuff like that's happening. So just the high strung pressure of just holding a phone in your hand, and that's the only answers you got, kind of thing. And it's just like, no. And then it's so crazy because they're so used to almost getting whatever they want because of their wealth. And even to the point where Kendall's like, put me on the phone with the pilot. I don't care. It's like,
yeah,
you can't, because he's flying a plane. Like, no matter how much money you have, like this isn't gonna work.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's a really insightful comment. And we'll see how life rolls out for the rest of the fallout of
rolls out
death.
is very good. Yeah, roll out.
Uncle Disraeli says, I think the next 7 episodes are going to see a Death of Stalin like scramble. Have you ever seen Death of Stalin?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. Oh man, I love that. I love that movie so much. And it's amazing too, because that movie's based on like true historical, like what happened with Stalin. And if you guys haven't watched it, I highly recommend that movie. It's dark humor, but it's really funny, and it's based off of a lot of true things that actually happened. But it's like everyone's fighting for power once Stalin dies, kind of thing. And different people have different hands in different positions that they're able to play, and that'll be.
But it's kind of like a comedy of errors, right? Like everything's very bombastic and stuff. Yeah.
But like even to the point, like who's standing closest to the casket, and we almost saw that with Tom. Like, make sure everyone knows I was with Logan.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
everyone wants to, and like,
gosh.
no, make sure I'm the one that's going to say the speech. No, I'm the one that held his hand last. No, I'm the one that talked to him last on the phone. It's like almost like Death of Stalin, like who was the closest to Stalin or AKA Logan. So, yes,
Yeah.
highly recommend that movie. If you need it, it's such a good movie. It's such a good movie.
So Help Conflict says, quote, until the company dies or I do.
That's one of our quotes from our one of our videos.
Well, then they're quoting us. I'm just reading a quote.
Isn't it crazy? Like, because we mentioned like or Logan dies, that kind of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, we had no idea. Even though we did hit at like possible people that had the possibility of dying in our theory video for the season, I wasn't expecting Logan to die, especially in the third episode.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend about it though. I'm like, at the same time, I feel like they were just totally making it obvious that he was going to.
That always
Like
happens, right?
yeah, like looking back, you're like, how did I not see this?
Yeah.
But they did admit, the showrunners admitted that it was pretty early.
Oh, season 3 for a major character, or episode 3 for a major character to die. I feel like major characters die like the third to last episode of the season or something. So it's like the big shock happens, and then the ripple effect happens after that kind of thing.
Right.
So
And along the lines of this comment, I liked the line or the moment where Roman like shows the stock and it's like, that's dad right there.
Yep. Yep, that's such a good line. Like he was the company, and now they have to prove that they're the company.
Well, in this next comment, Nick, Tim 2049 is calling you out because this is your theory. This isn't my theory, Tim. This is Nick's theory. Terrible theory. Greg being the successor would make for one of the worst endings of anything ever. The Succession writers are way too smart to do something so preposterous.
We'll see. I got 7 episodes left.
Oh,
by
and
the
then,
way, I did a whole theory video on Greg. We touched on other theories about Greg, but I honestly think Greg's gonna weasel his way into a high position of power or the main seat for sure.
and then we have some more comments agreeing that your theory is bad. So just revel in that for a little bit. Tokyo Jake agreed that are we watching the same show? There's no way in hell Greg would end up on top. So
Oh, cousin Greg for the win.
maybe you'll get the last laugh, Nick.
Hopefully.
And we had some comments agreeing with you, Team Greg. That would be
Or-
awesome.
That it would be awesome because he's just Greg.
Anything he does is awesome. And okay, wait, something I wanted to mention yesterday, but I forgot, is that in every episode we've seen Greg have a different like person he's trying to get
Woo.
romantic with, and it's failed every time. So I think that'd be a really funny bit if every episode he's just like trying to like get with a different person.
Maybe because like in a relationship you can see how he's such a weasel.
Yeah, true.
Because think about it, the family and the cousins, they don't get close enough to him where they actually see how weaselly he is. He's just like a fly in the background. Like, you know, people
Yeah.
just swat him away and tell him to do things.
So I like where it's the Sawyer family
Mm.
is going. I'm feeling this. And this is before the show even started. They're commenting on some videos that we did before the show
Tom.
started.
Yes,
So-
this is our Tom breakdown.
They say, I love Tom. I think he's a better person than he appears. I think he's caught up in the lifestyle, but if you weigh it, him and Roman of all people are the most loyal.
Yeah, I definitely see that, especially in this episode. It's amazing how loyal he was to the siblings and to Logan by staying on the phone, making sure everyone was able to say their piece, even though it could be part of his plan that when they look back on it, they'll be like, oh, Tom was so good to us. He made sure he gave us time. He called us first. Like, he was there for us kind of thing. But then again, when he's on the phone with Greg, he's like, make sure everyone knows I was the one by his side. You know what I mean? So obviously it's like
Yeah.
he does it, but then there's also motive behind it. But
Which is pretty human, or at least like in someone in his circumstances where like he doesn't have like the parachute of like, you know, his family just being billionaires. Like he
Yeah.
has to kind of work for, you know,
Yeah.
what he has. But then he's like weirdly part of this family. It's a very strange
Yeah.
realm that he exists in. And yeah, I thought that was a really crucial line when Shiv asked, or when the whole death is happening, and she's like, are you just being nice? Like,
Mm,
I don't know. That like
yeah. It's
was
true.
intense.
I
There
mean,
were
because
so
she
many
knows
layers.
how badly he betrayed her last season. So,
Yeah.
and then on the other comment of Roman, he really stepped up to the plate when it came to being on the phone, speaking, and he even like told Kendall what to say. He's like, "Say
Mm-hmm.
I love you. Say I'm here for you. You're gonna make it through." He was like giving lines to everyone, and then
Mm-hmm.
at the end, he was the only one that actually walked over to his dad.
Yeah.
Kendall didn't want to go. Shiv hopped in the car and drove away. He was the only one that physically walked over. Then again, Shiv was the only one that had enough strength to actually speak to everyone too. So yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
there's also the thought that we had when we were watching it of, is he like trying to get his phone to see if he's like, if he saw the message? Because I think he's kind of fixated on whether he was like
That's true.
listening to the message. But I'm like, that's like standard Roman. I don't think that would be like shocking to him if he heard it. Like he
Yeah.
wouldn't like go into
Mm-hmm.
any shock. Okay, but and then the same commenter goes on to say on a different comment that they think that there's going to be like a Greg and Tom falling out. So a lot going on here. So let me say there's going to be a betrayal between Greg and Tom. I also believe Tom cares more about Greg, not to get super into it, but he brings him in, he bothers him, and think about how hurt he was in the safe room throwing the water bottles. I believe Greg is going to betray Tom in some way and get ahead. Tom kept his secret about the author for Christ's sake. What was that? Secret about the author? I don't remember that. But they do have a lot of secrets between them,
Yeah.
obviously. And then Born on the Floor, the audience's favorite relationship. We'd all be so hurt, but think about it, it is possible. So
It'd be such a good betrayal too. Especially once Tom realizes that he's been betrayed. Because, like, technically, Greg has betrayed him before, but I don't know if Tom actually realizes he's been betrayed by Greg.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, Christopher Taylor has a very prophetic comment. I think, I think this was posted before this third episode.
Oh, okay.
But they said, I can see Greg ending up on top of the heap, but is there going to be anything of value left to rule over after the Roys eat each other?
It's true. But you know what?
True.
It's better than being a character at an amusement park, and probably according to Greg.
True. I mean, like, you can only go up from throwing up for your character.
I mean, think about it. If he did own the company, he would go after Greenpeace, right?
Oh man. So Deepster Mario says Logan's character was written more ruthless in the past seasons when he had just had a stroke. I'm hoping he's a rattlesnake about to strike. I think us plebs believe money equals power, but in his world, influence is power. So I'm holding on to that. There is a power play.
Yeah. Well, maybe he had some plans in process where we're gonna still see the Viper strike from the grave.
Yeah, seriously. He has some like booby traps set up.
Yeah, because I mean they're gonna have to deal with the whole deal without their dad. They can't call him for advice. Because think about it, like every other season, even when they were with their dad, they would always have to get approval, or they would get like either a head nod or a disappointment, like they made a mistake or they didn't. They had that their father figure there. Now every choice they make, they don't even know what their dad would even think or approve of. So it's gonna be very interesting.
Foo Fighter has a pretty groundbreaking comment, one that I wholeheartedly agree with, and it's Brendan Fraser would be a great fit for Greg's dad. So we'll just put that out there. There's a lot of comments clarifying to us Claudius is in reference to Hamlet, and I do feel like a failed English major for not knowing that. I did know that. It's just like, when we're just talking it out and it didn't come to mind, but I swear I love Hamlet. That's my favorite Shakespeare. So So Surabi C says, maybe Carrie and Jerry take over. Logan has a lapse of true meaning of life and moves to Scotland, enjoying watching soccer on the team his beloved Roman bought him. Oh yeah, that was so
That's
funny.
right.
The kids are living in New York City, fighting with each other on who gets their collective share in the new company acquisition. Roman probably is hired by Jerry to learn more, as he seems loyal towards his father's business / Jerry. Nothing changes for Connor, Tom, and Greg. I mean, like, obviously we know parts of that aren't going to happen, but I mean, maybe in heaven, Logan Roy is watching Scotland. He's like in Scotland and watching his soccer team. But yeah, I think there's some possibility to that if Jerry gets on top somehow. I mean, we thought that Roman was turning to his dad right before this episode, or he was. So
yeah, gosh,
we'll see.
Yeah. These theories, these comments.
So this last comment is from Jay Dilla with a very adorable avatar picture. And they say, looking at how the posters predicted the future of the show, you can see that Logan is the only one holding his watch. Ooh. Maybe a wink that his time is coming to an end, as well as the building structure with cross-like beams in the background. Something to go along with that is that I've seen someone point out that the posters for each season have become like more modern. So in the beginning, they were kind of more like throne or like old timey, like him being the king and stuff. And then now this one's like a skyscraper, very modern. Anyways, so going back to Jay Dilla's comment, all three, Kendall, Connor, and Tom, have their backs facing away from Logan. I assume they'll be going against his legacy and trying to build the company on their own, in their own image, or maybe even end up trying to tear it down. Meanwhile, Roman is directly behind him, facing Logan, and his watch is exposed, maybe meaning his time is coming to succeed him. Shiv is facing forward on the side of Logan's legacy, but is still not completely behind it with her own plans in place. And of course, Greg, being Greg, is on the side of Logan's legacy, but still facing away from him in uncertainty. Dang.
That was great.
Save that one. I think that we'll have to revisit that.
And you know what's funny? I was also thinking too, like, you know, shows sometimes repeat the beginning of the show. And I was trying to remember like the beginning of the show when Logan was sick and in the hospital, and how the family had to come together and how they were kind of fighting for place when Logan was still recovering, kind of thing. So I wonder if we're going to see almost like a mirror of that circumstance, but now it's like that was like a pre-game, it was a postseason game, like it was a test, and now it's the real deal. Like they had a test run at it, and now it's going to be happening for reals. Because remember how like Roman and Kendall were like, okay, we're gonna do this together. We're in it together. Like they were like a total tag team. Shiv wasn't really a part of it, but now Shiv's gonna be a part of it, and it's gonna be very interesting to see how this plays out. I'm super excited. Are you excited, Taylor?
Yeah, I think that it would have. It's like, you know, sad to see the actor of Brian Cox not be on the show anymore. But like you said, if he had gone in like the second to last episode, I feel like there's a lot of story we would have missed out on. So now it's just gonna be. I wouldn't be surprised if this whole season is like a week in time. Like I think it's really interesting. Or you know, they hopped forward, but I think it's moving slow. Time is moving slow within the season,
especially this last episode. It was like real time for us. We didn't really jump. We were on the boat the whole time.
Yeah, so very interesting narrative structure.
Dang. All right. Well, we're here for it. We're going to be doing episode reviews as soon as the episode drops. Subscribe to get all the updates. And remember, comment down below theories, thoughts, and your opinions, because every comment is entered to win one of our shirts from the Best Nerdy Shirts, bestnerdyshirts.com. Gosh, where you get to choose whatever shirt you want. Cousin Greg for the win. And we'll see you on the next AsArt. Dang. There was a lot of good comments.